Hi, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ashani Sofia binti Sufyan. Alright, before we start, I would like to say that our topic is economic theory by Ibn Khaldun. First of all, before we start, I would like to briefly explain about economic itself. Regarding to business dictionary, economy is an entire network of producers, distributors and consumers of goods and services in a local, regional. Regarding to business dictionary, before we go into the theory, we first must know who is Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun was born at 4th century Muslim thinker, born in now Tunisia, who wrote on many subjects including on the rise and fall of nations in his Al-Muqaddimah. His writing on economic cycles and economic-oriented policies are as relevant today as they were during his time. His emphasis on reduced government expenditure for mercenary armies has been headed by many developed countries which are in the process of implementing his policy prescription in order to increase the economy. Educate and make sure human development. He opposed taxation and tariff that discourage trade and production. The common sense of economic of Ibn Khaldun is now being understood slowly by less developed countries of government and its stabilization policies in charge and increase of output and employment. Since the state has been important function in social, political and economic life of a nation, the role and nature of the state has been clarified for the well-being of society. For Ibn Khaldun, the role of the state is to establish law and order conducive for economic activity.
I will explain about the contents of Ibn Khaldun theory, which is economic theory. First of all, I'm going to explain about Ibn Khaldun's perspective on economic. Ibn Khaldun is the first thinker that analyzed on economics problems and development. He dealt with many problems regarding economic issues such as optimum taxation, expectation, production, and many more. He is also the first economist that used the language of economics surplus and conducted a biological interpretation of the rise and fall of nations. Since Ibn Khaldun has established a coherent general economic theory, his theory has the empirical and theoretical power not only to explain the consequences of government policies, but to predict the very survival of the state. Next, we move to Ibn Khaldun's perspective on the state. For Ibn Khaldun, the rule at the state is to establish law and order, specifically the rule of law that is conducive for economic activities. Moreover, the enforcement of property rights, the protection of trade rules, and the security of peace are necessary for any civilized society to engage in trade and production. Economic surplus will increase when there are government policies that support the economic activities, and it will shrink if the state overtaxing the economic surplus. According to Ibn Khaldun, the state has to take responsibility to change the expectation of entrepreneurs by implementing public work to generate employment and confidence. It also should provide them with facilities such as build roads and trade centers to encourage production and trade. Other than that, the state also should not involve in economic activities because it can cause problems in economic activities. Ibn Khaldun stated that the greater overtaxation, the greater burden on economic surplus would be. For Ibn Khaldun, the best state is the one that has the minimum bureaucracy, minimum mercenary army, and minimum taxation on its citizens. Next, Ibn Khaldun's perspective on specialization and economic surplus. For Ibn Khaldun, specialization means the coordination of different functions or factors of production where what is obtained through the cooperation of a group of human beings satisfy the need of number many times greater than themselves. Other than that, he also stated that the specialization through cooperation and coordination of factors of production is the source of economic surplus. He also believed that the coordination, cooperation, and direction of factors of production in increasing economic surplus is a productive and costly process which is undertaken by entrepreneurs who try hard to make a gain for their economic activities. Entrepreneurs spend time, energy, and capital to search for goods and services in order to make profit. As a result, Ibn Khaldun praised the initiative of entrepreneurs for their productive activities in coordinating and directing the factors of production. Then, they very rightly deserve profit from their risky undertakings.
I'd like to explain about the theory of Ibn Khaldun on supply-demand. The prices goods and services are determined by supply and demand. When the market have the high demand and the seller will selling their items in the high price. Next, when the item selling in the low price, the buyer or the customer will choose the cheapest and the plentiful. So, we can see that the customer or the buyer have the right to choose either they want to buy a expensive or the cheapest items to fulfill their demand and or to fulfill their desire. Okay, next I will explain about the Ibn Khaldun on the property rights. There are some economies, especially in United States, have started to deal with the property rights of and the impacts of economic development. Ibn Khaldun, on the other hand, in a centuries ago, had firmly and strictly argue with this issue. The protection and the enforcement of property rights had to be defined as a matter of the justice for the survival of the civilization. Next, Ibn Khaldun argued that the importance of property right has been emphasized vigorously in Islam as a matter of justice. The lack of justice for him permit the eradication of the human species. This is what the religious law quite generally and wisely aims at emphasize 5 things as necessary. First, the preservation. Firstly, the religion, the soul, the intellect, progeny, and the property. So all these things is very important to ensure the justice for the people will come.
In conclusion, Ibn Khaldun is known as one of the founder of economic theory and as the largest Muslim economist who recognized by the Western economists, unlike the previous scholar who had tendency to be nomadic. And through his theory of economy, he actually used the historical and social approach to understand the economic notions. And also he is a very positive in understanding the economy. So what is clear is that Ibn Khaldun is actually discovered a great number of fundamental economic notions of a few centuries before the official birth. He's actually discovered the virtue and necessity of the division of labor before Smith, and the principle of labor value before Ricardo, and the role of government in stabilization policy before Keynes. Therefore, it is clear that the policy recommendations of Ibn Khaldun for civilized society are as relevant in today's economic situation as they were before. So throughout the analysis of his theory, it's expected to be that the country that follow his recommendation will be prosperous, and a country that reject it will be in despair, because of his economic theory that contain a very systematic and very well organized economic structure for a civilization of a society. So that's all from us. Thank you for watching.